Verne Fritz.
Are you, sir?
How you doing? We're
Good
on
to
the
be here.
podcast. We were talking so much, I figured I'd just
Might as well
the
start it,
podcast.
right? Yeah.
We were talking grandparents and hand-me-down furniture and blankets and
Yep.
trench coat. He came in with a dope-ass London Fog trench coat that I spotted right away. I think the first thing I said to you was, nice fucking trench coat.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So how's your world?
Yeah, not too bad. Been pretty good at work. Been pretty good at, like trying to get music stuff happening
You're
again.
tattooing again, right?
Tattooing full time again. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, very good, very good. So I always tell people it's not a music podcast, but at the start I always want people to talk about, we're playing a festival in August.
Yeah, we got something going on with you. Yeah.
Have you studied the serious material with the
No.
appropriate...
No gravitas given yet.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that I have it all on a, I have the set on a
I think you
Spotify
promised
list
me some
and
charts.
and I pop it on when I drive to work. So, that's always my method.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just get in it. And if you get in it and stay in it,
Well, you notice...
those charts will come easier because I'm internalizing all that too.
You'll notice the musicians that I chose to sort of do this pop-up band, it's like we literally could probably just jump on a stage and wing it for an hour and a half. So,
Right.
So I'm not too worried about it. All right. So here's what I was thinking. I was thinking about Verne Fritz. I was thinking about the person that I know. And I actually consider you to be a serious person, but also kind of a serious thinker. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to get away from some of the previous topics. And this is what I want to talk to you about today. It just flashed into my brain.
Great.
It was identity, image, isolation, and imagination.
Cool.
So you had a conversation with me once, and I really want to start this. In this podcast, I want to figure out people today and people in general and the obstacles psychologically and genetically that we have to just, not be able to escape our primate, violent, controlling, in the corner, just crying about a trauma that happened 20 years. I want us to figure out, A, what kind of people are there? Categorize them, but not in a psychological way. And two, what is their flaws and how do we correct them? So if you're willing to share, you told me a story once about your psychology and you took a test or something. Is that something?
Yeah. We
Okay,
can go there. Yeah.
This is why I chose these topics with Mr. Verne Fritz, is because he told me this about him. So go ahead and tell the people this story.
Which story?
Well, about how you were categorized as a certain percentile.
Sure. Yeah. So now being what I know in my soul, an autistic person, I don't have a legal diagnosis, but during checking my kids out when they were younger, my oldest, definitely on the spectrum. And so we went and had that evaluation done. It was not the million question, do you have autism test, but it was something that they were doing for the kids so that they knew where to which angle to take.
I'm listening.
Right. And so what happened was they give that assessment initially to the parents and the kids.
Yeah.
So they can see where it's coming from and what's going on. And basically my oldest and I scored the same on this assessment. Now the assessment kind of worked in a way where it was I don't remember the value scale or anything, but let's just say that on this test, it was if you scored between 40 and 50, that was the autism spectrum. But there was a plus or minus 5 point.
There always is.
Right?
Yeah. The scientists love to cover their asses.
Because you never quite know how and stuff like that is kind of a day-to-day challenge. Some days can be more challenging than others. So
and the +1 to +3s for me are always the most interesting spaces when I think of people.
Right. And that's where we both fell. It was on that scale, if you hit 40, they were that's your autism spectrum. But we were both 38. And a plus or minus 3 on that puts us well into it or well out of it, depending on the day.
Yeah, it's like you're hanging out the window of the bus.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's where we both sit.
So not to jump in on you here, but I think we're talking about a different story.
Oh, okay.
I'm really nice to know this about you because it does explain a lot about your personality type and all this. But I'm going even further back, and I believe in college you had done some sort of a test.
Right. Now, that was the full bore.
So let's acknowledge
exactly
that you're teetering right there on that autism spectrum.
Right.
And then this result.
And then so in college, Psych 101,
Yeah.
That's Indiana University absolutely utilizes their students as test subjects in those psychology classes. And they use it for the, the advanced degree people, people that are getting their doctorate.
By the way, leave a vial of your urine before you go.
I can do that.
Yeah, okay.
I'll just empty that and refill it. So they're absolutely doing that kind of research on students in a way that's
it's a captive, what do they call
audience,
it? Not a test study, a captive, what do they call the people that are in a group? There's like a clinic.
Yeah. No, I know exactly the word, but it's
It's escaping me.
Both of us. And so they give you it was the what is it? I'm trying to think of the actual name of the test.
Yeah, which probably goes back to some dude from the 40s with
Right.
a very serious demeanor.
100%. And so it's basically the if you've heard the terms, like INTJ, like those are it's two names. It's like the blah, blah,
it's
blah,
like
blah.
Briggs and Stratton.
Right.
But that's an engine,
It's
right?
the Myers-Briggs test.
Myers-Briggs.
You got the right.
I
You got one
gotcha.
and tripped me, right? The Myers-Briggs test.
The dots that get connected in this fucked up personality, it's crazy.
And so you go, like you can do the Myers-Briggs online. There's online versions, but the full test is like 3 hours.
And they use it hardcore in like sales in corporate America
Correct.
too, don't
And
they?
so they use that to just decide what kind of personality type you are. Well, there were, now they didn't, this was not kind of like common knowledge like it is now. Social media has brought like people know their personality type from the thing that they did online and blah, blah, blah.
Well, and we're going to get to social media and its impact on identity.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so we get that. Everyone gets their assessment. You get your numbers back. Well, there were a handful of people that were asked to return and take they were asked. It was not required. They were like, "Hey, you're a particularly special type."
Were their hands on the inside of their coat?
They did.
We'd like you to return,
Right?
sir.
We would like you to come back with us. Put your hands like this.
Yeah.
So
Excuse me.
I went, okay, cool, and I went back, and there were maybe 2 or 3 people.
Out of how much in the study group?
I mean, it was the Psych 101 at Indiana University
So
class.
100?
Hundreds, 300 per class. And that went all day long.
And there were 2.
And there were 2 in my class, 2 other than me. So
All
there
right,
were
so
3.
let's jump ahead. What was your category?
The category was INTJ. I didn't know anything about that at the time. They weren't really explaining. They were just saying, we're using this. This is study material.
Does it stand for something?
Yeah. The letters are how you process. So it's INTJ is like internalized something. I can't even remember what all the
Sure.
Yeah, I haven't studied.
But I find it cool that it starts with internalization.
Right. And so
'Cause
it's how
that's
you process.
identity.
Right. It's how you process things. And so whether so everyone has their 4 letters, and each of those corresponds, and so you get all the multiple combinations of those letters.
Mine would be FUT, like fucked up, twitchy,
Right?
kooky.
So basically what it kind of comes down to is I find out years later that the reason that those 3 people, myself included, were asked to return is because INTJs are known to be psychopaths, sociopaths,
like
serial killers, or crazy super science nerds. And so
So already we've established a link that I was curious about in this conversation, which is you kind of have to be batshit crazy to be kind of like intelligent, and not so much intelligent, but sort of like actively, like functionally intelligent, meaning you want to create, you want to apply the intelligence, because probably if you don't, you'll go the other direction.
correct.
Okay.
And that I'm sure that's thinking back and I just learned this a few years ago, like that was that was the reason that was brought back. I started looking into all those letters and whatnot, and they're the INTJ is.
Do you think that they were trying to see which you were?
I truly do believe that because, like I said, thinking back, I do recall that second round of questions. It wasn't another 3-hour session. It was like an hour.
A little more focused.
It was very much more focused on like your opinion about kind of hard things like, things about like the death penalty.
Yeah.
Things about like,
Well, and we're gonna get there. So
public executions and
so basically you were diagnosed as either being like a totally amoral psychopathic killer, type, or
Or-
somebody who was just incredibly hyper ingenious and like internally just always like a problem solver.
That's
and,
basically it. Yeah.
okay. So let's get to the first one, and because I've learned that a lot of times if I don't steer the ship,
100%.
we get lost. Identity. Okay. One of the biggest problems that we have as a species, I think, is the disconnect between my internal self and the millions of other people's internal selves. And we have found all of these different methods to bridge that, you know, so shared human experiences through music or religion or whatever. We've had armies of dudes thinking they figured out the philosophical answer to it, up to and including shit that's led to genocide and horrible fucking
Right.
shit. And we have tried every form of government known to man to just rein in the uncontrollable differences between this brain and the other person's brain. So, first and foremost, do you believe in other people? I'm starting at base
Right.
level.
We've had this discussion
I
kind of
know.
before. Yeah. Yeah.
Because here you and I are, and the verdict's still out for me, you know, because I can never quite say you're not just something else.
Right.
Right. But do you actually believe, because it goes to empathy and it goes to a shared, like, you know, why else work with people if they're not real? So do you have the same thing with me, or do you actually believe that I am a living, processing, individual, unique thing?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And that's an interesting take, just from the point of view of me, like kind of going, you know, the Matrix, whatever, you know, like however you want to call that.
Well, yeah, and not even in the simulation. Get rid of like all of the crazy arcane answers to the universe. It's just what's right in front of you. You know, sort of that Platonic early philosophy, I think therefore I am sort of a thing. It's like if this then that, yeah, okay. Like, so you believe that I am real and different from you.
Sure.
Okay. And we've just established that I can never say that with such certitude.
Right.
There's our like chasm.
Right.
Right? Because then somebody like me, and remember, you're the sociopath.
Right.
IU certified.
Yeah. Yeah. Certified.
But I mean, I'm tricky too, man. Like I've just never like wanted to be poked and prodded by. But so our first chasm is literally how do I force somebody like me? And it's not like I'm diminishing you as a experience. I just can't prove it. And it always causes me to be just a little bit detached from human answers. Okay, so you believe that your friend Seach is different from you and equal to you, meaning biological and all this. Okay. Do you like that? Do you like that there's something other than you? This is all leading somewhere. Just bear
Yeah.
with. Okay. Do you like that you have to deal with tricky differences in other people?
Of course not. I don't. No. You know, like
So you're not like, oh, everybody's so unique, and even though there's horrible shit in the world, it's beautiful. Like you're
Right.
like, I hate it.
no. I as a, you know, generally autistic person, you know, like you're correct. Making connections with people can be difficult.
Yeah.
And I don't care whether you're autistic or not. It's just that just adds another layer to it for those people. You know, it's not really any different. It's just, that's funny to say it this way. It's not any different. It's just different.
Yeah.
You know?
So the reason I did those two first is this. Your problem then is that you believe that I am unique and special and all of that, but you hate that.
Yeah.
Did you see how I like to set up
100%. Yep.
Okay. And my problem is, or not my problem, my plus, because my problem is I can't prove it, but my benefit from that is I don't give a fuck. Right?
Right.
Like I literally don't give a fuck about another person.
Right.
Now, I glom onto things because it's kind of like, well, since I can't prove it, and there's this benefit here called love, or there's this benefit here called friendship, or this benefit here called they'll pay me, or whatever. But, like, that's so funny that right away in our conversation about identity, look at where we are.
Right.
So, which is better?
I think my pullback and to say, oh yeah, no, I do hate that, does have to do as much with the way that I approach the world as a person that kind of feels like an outsider most of the time anyway.
So if I may just, and I'm going to,
Yeah.
I try to not jump in too much, but it's, you say you hate it, but you're pulling back because you hate it because you know it's something in you that might be a little wrong.
Correct.
Okay.
That's really what it does come down to. It's like me going, well, I don't like dealing with other people's foibles, despite the fact that I have so many that I'm hard to deal with as well.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's just a co-equal, trade back and forth. It's like,
So-
I'm weird too. I'm weird in a different way than you. It's hard for me sometimes to understand. I think the difference here is that it's not hard for me to internalize it. It's hard for me to externalize it.
Yeah.
It's hard, like I feel like I've spent my life as an over-explainer,
Yeah.
which is a very autistic trait, trying to be understood
Well, and
by
as a
continuing.
philosopher, I feel it because I can't go outside without going, okay, why the fuck?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
there snow falling out of it? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so having that space to kind of go, I don't really get along with anyone in the same way that they get along with me. Where does that leave me?
What was there a period in your life as somebody who believes in other entities but hates that they're not like you and your way of thinking? Was there a period in your life where you attempted to be a fixer? Meaning like people that came into your orbit, did you try to fix their bad traits? Like maybe a girlfriend, maybe a family member, a bandmate?
Probably, but not, probably not.
Because there's a lot of hyper fixer people that can't, like, they go out and it's almost like they're not even concerned about themselves.
Right.
They're just like, oh, are you okay? Or, oh, let me do this for you. And,
No.
we could go into that. That's just them like saying, oh, I'm powerless, so I'm going to try to be God by fixing other people.
Sure.
But so maybe, but not like to a great.
Yeah, I don't think that I consciously, like I may.
So was it selfish?
It probably was. It was
tried to-
probably me more like, you should be closer to my way of thinking. I know I've had girlfriends and wives and whatnot in the past where it's just like,
If you just changed this, we'd get along
Well,
great.
and the funny part being is that sometimes years later and reconnecting with that person will reveal that in hindsight, they would tell me things like, you actually changed my mind about several things in a way that I didn't think was possible to change my mind about.
Yeah.
Whether it was like, me saying, well, I don't need to have the atheist label, but let's talk about religion, and then would give my my standard opinion. Which,
I'm not looking at you, by the way, because there's a big light coming through that window. So there you go.
Like, do I
Can
need
you
to-
shift just
Yeah, I
a
was
little
gonna say, do I need-
forward? Don't go back because we'll get out of the camera. What's up, Bubba? Say hi to the podcast.
Come back.
It's my son. Okay, so to flip the coin again, because we are totally different.
Yeah.
I like this that we just immediately established how we can kind of bounce off each other. When I saw somebody who had a trait that I found unappealing, I never felt a need to fix it because I could just completely ignore it.
Correct.
And, there's so many people who, if somebody's a tricky dicky or if they're just always aggravated by this thing, it's kind of like, what the fuck are you doing there then? And I don't know if that led me to a colder place or a warmer place in my own identity, because not only can I never prove that there are other people that exist other than me,
Right.
but I get no warmth from it when they are around. So it's like I've always had to be like, okay, why? Like, why can't it just be fish? Why can't it just be everything other but fucking people? And so that led me on this very weird philosophical pathway where I had to look at every other human being not as a coworker, not as a co-member of the human family, but as either an example to learn something from, because obviously they're here, so it must be staged, right? Or it is real, so, it's okay. So it's just so funny, and how that affects identity, right? We get so focused on identity being responses to other people's behavior. You're a fixer, you're a nurturer, you're a homicidal maniac, you're a paranoid, you're all of these. And there's all these tags. And it's, people say, and that's in their brain, or that's how they're wired, or that's the type they are. But it's not. To me, it's their reaction to that tricky other. And it's almost like psychology overlooks that. It's just kind of like, well, of course there's a whole bunch of people going around with their own internal fuckery in their head. But it's like, no, a lot of that internal fuckery is because of other people's fuckery.
Sure.
Coming at them just nonstop like the fucking radio. All right. So there's identity. How many people and I know you can't give me a statistic or something, but just in your experience, how many people have you worldwide total, do you believe have a sincere grasp on what they are, like their identity? And it's not just lost in like a hobby, or it's not just lost in a religious church. Like, how many people do you think out of 100% truly know their identity?
5%.
Right.
You know?
And see, right away, that sounds condescending and superior. But, I mean, I'd pump it maybe to like 12.
I was going to say between 5 and 10 was my thought, and my brain is like, it's on the low end of that.
But I think that was your autism coming in there because, like, I trust autistic people's first answer.
Sure.
You know, I've known a lot of y'all, and it's typically that first processing.
Yep.
Yeah, that delivers.
I might talk myself out of it if I think too long. Or I will change that number with 10 minutes of
there was that one
rumination. Right.
Okay, so there's identity. So we're thinking. So what prevents people? What prevents people from that complete introspective revelation or genuine experience with themselves? Is it all just external stimulation? Is it brainwashing, intentionally or unintentionally, by society and people? Combination of everything.
I think, I mean, I'm going to say combination of everything, but my first thought is just literally that, we've gotten to a point in our society where the onslaught of external is so huge.
Especially with the bullhorn of the internet.
You don't, I mean, you can make a conscious choice to not participate in that. But at a certain point, you also will have to realize that you're lacking in a portion of social interaction that everyone else seems to be involved in.
Well, and do you think in 20, 30 years, people are going to be able to make a conscious choice to separate it from it, because it's going to become so just inculcated in the human experience?
Sure. I believe right now we're seeing the beginning of kind of a pushback to the social media kind of empires and things like that. People are getting a little more, attached to their communities, whether they create, whether it's the people that live next to you or it's that community that you create through your interests or whatever, whether it's, just going out to every open mic night or whatever.
Do you think that's an overdose of the other? Like let's use that term throughout the rest of like the other, meaning just anybody who's not me, right? Or you. Like there has been so much fuckery with the sort of unimind direction going towards the singularity of the internet and everybody and blah, 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 and all that. It's almost like people are saturated to the point of bursting, and they're disengaging, not so much because it's not an appropriate community to be in. They're just overdosed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think a lot of us that are sensitive to things like that, like I've noticed, and this is, I guess, common. This is from my research into this, but autistic people become more autistic as they get older.
Oh, no shit.
The thing, because
so you can solve them jigsaw puzzles quicker.
Because you have a tendency to be overwhelmed by things from your past, and so like the longer you are alive, the more of those like little wedges have pooped into you that you've smoothed over every time.
Do you data dump?
Do I? 100%.
Yeah, like emotion and memory and
I'm better at
I'm
the
gonna
emotional.
go over here and do a quick call.
Yeah, do it. Sorry. I do have there we go. I've gotten better at the emotional part of it over the years, and I've gotten worse at the like smoothing over self-soothing portion of it over the years.
Well, and
which have kind of played off each other in one way or another.
That's another thing I wanted to talk to you about, because I mean, would you agree with me that like when we were younger, there were a lot more people with a stronger sense of who they were, their identity, and all that?
I feel like it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even our generation, and going up even into like maybe the millennial, but like there's been this like drop off, where everything now is just like, I identify with this, therefore that is more than me. And you can see it a lot in the activist crowd, be it transgender or gun rights or whatever activist crowd there is. There's just this sort of like I'm not as important. And I think that's relevant to the modern situation because there's a lot of people dying, for reasons that, and people used to call that, noble or, look at their self-sacrifice. But I honestly don't know if that's self-sacrifice as much as it is kind of this like suicide by protest or suicide by cop kind of mentality. It's like, did you see the videos of all the people after Good got shot in Minnesota and the old lady going, shoot me, shoot me,
Yes.
shoot me? It's like, lady, there are people in other countries that would take you up on that offer. Like,
Sure.
do you understand how like lucky you are that a guy just didn't shoot you?
Right.
But like, I don't think I can really, I could never accredit a person like that with having an identity. If you're so quick to just throw it away on a street.
Correct. Yeah. I see that. Yeah.
And I see that all the time on the internet, these people just blasting comment threads and blasting all that. It's like you legitimately could be outside growing a tomato, or you legitimately could be going out to find the love of your life. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we would agree that the internet has really squashed like people's ability to form a unique identity.
Sure.
Okay. So that's why, okay, so let's put a nice little bow for now on identity. And let's go to the second one, which was isolation. In my worldview, not worldview, in my personality, the one that can never prove, that's pure isolation.
Right.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I have always been comfortable there. I've always been comfortable there. And I've been in solitary confinement, no comment. And I was great. I mean, I was absolutely fine, right? And it's kind of like the gulag mindset, where it's like, you really don't have a choice. And when I was very young, I scanned everything, man. I just scanned every look in a guy's eye, shaking a girl's hip, the statements coming out of fuckery and mouth and all that. And that's instantly, I just disconnected from being able to say that has equal value to me. And that's not selfishness. That's self-preservation.
Right.
Right. So is isolation the cure to the 88% of people that we have just diagnosed don't
Right.
have identity? Like, do they need to sit in a park?
Right?
Not worry about coworkers. Like,
Right.
You don't have to work until you're actually like a legit person. So you're just, society's going to take care of you. Go be something. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I mean, that feels to me like the beginning of what I've wanted my whole life, which is the Star Trek society.
Yeah.
You're
the second guest to mention
Star
Shelton
Trek,
did it too.
Yeah. Star Trek society is and that's generational. I mean, I was born the year that Star Trek premiered, like that kind of stuff.
Before you go too further, I'm going to give
Yeah.
you a little bit more bait. Do you think that interaction with others detracts from the individual being able to learn who they are? And should people avoid that before? Do you see what, like, does swimming in the stream with everybody, is that a negative influence?
I don't think so, because
Okay.
I think part of that, part of learning who you are is also learning where you fit. Like who's the say it's like to say, you find your tribe or whatever, it's like, and sometimes that is the way that you figure it out. It's like, yeah, we all do. Oh, you're one of me in some weird way. Like I see you in that way. It's
So
like,
let me stop you. Go through that. Is the first thing you're not a threat?
probably.
Okay. And would the second thing be you accept me?
Maybe.
What would be a comparable number two?
Maybe not accept, but I see you. I see the, like
The similarity.
the similar, yeah, the recognition. I recognize you more than anything else. I recognize you. Maybe not accept, but recognize.
Yeah.
And then accept.
Like, I see that you're 3% of the good part of me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the part that I'm going to initially attempt to align with. If that doesn't happen, then of course that other 97% is obviously too much of the weight.
I love how you said align with. I love that that's the words you chose. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's a common word in my vocabulary, so
Yeah.
maybe that's
Well,
yeah.
but it's mathematical.
Yeah. Well, that makes perfect sense
Yeah.
to me.
Okay, so do you understand again, coming from my perspective, how foreign that is?
Yeah.
Because when I align with somebody, or if I see, like with you, or with my other misfits, I mean, you know that I surround myself with a very special, select quality of person.
Sure.
And you have to be extraordinarily good and extraordinarily fucking weird
Right.
for me to even want to talk to you.
Sure.
But I don't align with them. And I don't get any type of a validation of myself from them. Do you?
I would probably like to say that I don't require or need that, but I think as a human person, there's something to be said for like being accepted for who you are or who you are perceived to be.
But I love it because you said a person.
Yeah.
That insinuates multiple.
The other, yeah.
And that's again the divide between
Right.
us.
Yep.
So it's
The
like
other.
it all goes back to that divide. Crazy. All right. So do you get succor and like comfort and all of that, knowing that you're not alone and that you could find your tribe, and when you see that person that you can align with, do you go, oh, that makes the whole journey so much better because I'm not alone?
No.
Okay.
No, because as much as I talk about, as I've chatted about like alignment and community and whatnot,
You don't need it.
I don't need it. And
Yeah.
I'm very much like you. That whole, like the whole, hey, stay home, it's quarantine.
Yeah.
You know what I did? I had a blast.
So what made you that? Because that's the big difference between you and me. Because you can be isolated and happy,
Yeah.
but you still believe that you are not just the thing that the universe is.
Right.
So what gave you that ability to be that confident to say, "Oh, I don't need the tribe. It's just better to have it.
Sure.
It's preferable, but I don't need it."
Right.
What events or what thought process or what quality in you allowed you to be that alone, but still empathetic and making connections and stuff? Is it just what you were taught?
Part of it is that, what's the word? It's that rugged individual.
But where'd that come from?
That's that's family. That's nurture, as much as anything. I say family, but family as in the people that you were around, not necessarily the people you were related to. Although, I've come to learn through therapy and whatnot that my family group operated in a completely different way than a lot of people's did. With small business, family owned, family run, family, family time was at work.
If we're going to get it, we're going to get it ourselves.
Family time was at work. So we didn't spend a lot of time, with family outside of the store. That was kind of
What kind of business?
hardware store.
Hardware.
My grandparents started in the 40s, and so I grew.
Please tell me you saved some of their nails, man. I'm so tired of buying this cheap ass fights. I hit it once.
I'll call Dad and see what he's got in the garage.
Please, I need some of them 10-penny, man.
Right, some real 10 pennies made forged nails. Yeah. I remember when nails came in a keg.
Yeah, right.
That was that's my upbringing is that, and so that was my family. And now having someone else in my life that my girl and I live together, and her family experience is radically different than that. A special needs sibling, creates an entirely different kind of family orientation,
Where it's more of a caretaking.
Everyone rallies around.
Yeah.
It's that.
Which is wonderful.
Right. And where our rally around was the business.
Yeah.
And so we had a different, it's just become very interesting to me, and how the difference in upbringing and family interactions and the way that all works has really dictated the way that
you were
the two of us are.
You were expected to be a doer.
Yes.
You weren't expected to just lay around.
No.
There was shit that needed to get done. Put your boots
We
on.
literally, I started my first job at the hardware at 8.
Yeah.
Come after school so you can sweep the floors. We'll pay you $1.
But so right. But so you being taught that you have to do things to better the family unit, or just to better your own situation through money and success and all of this, is what is allowing you to say you don't need other people. I'm trying
Right.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
get
There's
specific
definitely,
answers.
like I said,
right?
there's part of that rugged individuality, the rugged individual, that kind of classic
Isn't
boomer.
it funny that you learned it by being part of a family?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's what I say. I say,
Did you have the kind of family that said, we are this family? Like, the most important thing is the family, and everything outside of it, is less important than...
it really wasn't.
Because I was going to say that might explain it, because then the family just kind of becomes the I.
Coalesce the I, right?
Yeah.
No, it really wasn't like that. It was very much, we were, in a weird way, we were outsiders. The whole family was kind of set up as an outsider thing. So we're talking about...
Were you living in a blimp?
Rural Indiana.
Yeah.
Amish community.
Oh, shit.
Horse and buggies on the street. If your business didn't have hitching racks, you were losing out on 40% of the community business, because people couldn't bring their buggy.
Yeah, help me haul this shit.
Right. You got to be able to park the horse at your business. The McDonald's in LaGrange, Indiana has hitching racks.
Yeah.
The courthouse has hitching racks.
I was just talking to Ewan about Mormons, Amish, and Mennonites, because, obviously...
And I grew up in that environment. And so that's a very red conservative kind of area.
Oh, yeah.
My family is one of the 2 Democrat families in LaGrange County. The joke for years was like, whose turn is it to run for office, Billmans or Schlemmers?
Okay, yeah.
Those are the 2.
Schlemmer is the
That's my
family name.
government name.
Government name.
Yeah.
Well, one of the fun things about the identity concept is, I've probably had fucking 14 or 15 names in my life.
Same. And that's what
I thought it was... Well, so Verne here, like, just one day, he got on the internet and he said, I'm getting rid of my old name.
Yeah.
And, like, I always wanted to probe that, because I kind of understood it superficially. Mm-hmm. But it was just such an interesting... It was almost like, you being weighed down by the memories and the burden and the journey of that old you. And you were just like, fuck it, now I'm Verne Fritz.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, and
It's like
really
shedding a skin.
And the funny thing is that in doing that, it also caused me to realize how many times I've done that. Like, because now I
Professor Electromagnet.
Right. Yeah. How many times I've had a moniker.
Yeah.
Nom de tat.
Yeah,
or whatever
it
is. My tattoo name or whatever.
Well, this is an awesome thing. Mm-hmm. Because all of those nom de guerres, nom de tats, nom de plume, all of these things, those are things that people did to protect themselves from the others. Mm-hmm. So if you were Trotsky, or if you were Lenin, or if you were revolutionaries, Che Guevara, come on. Okay. Yeah. So, like, I love that, because it shows how much identity can be dangerous.
Right.
Right. But that's a tangent.
Well, part of the reason that I did it was an intentional, like saying, this is the first time I've intentionally done this. Yeah. Sure, I've swapped that name a few times online, and I've been, like I said, Professor Electromagnet. There's been King Lesbian. There's been, there's been all kinds of different stuff that's gone on over the years.
King Lesbian is righteous. That's a great name.
And I had a black T-shirt with the king, it was on there, and I never got more high fives from butch lesbians than.
So was your name change in any way a statement about a change in your identity?
Probably mostly like my self-imposed identity, saying this, it was as much a way for me to kind of like shed the past as much as it was a way for me to say, now I'm intentionally claiming this, and now I get to create it.
Yeah.
And the funny part being is that I'm going to name it first,
yeah.
And then I'm going to make it.
See, there's that scientist side of that fucking test, right?
Yep.
You had to classify it.
Right.
You had to say, Verne Fritz, a coyote in the Utah desert.
Exactly.
With a brown pelt.
Right. Yeah. I name it first, and now I'm figuring it out. And that's kind of, and things have changed in that. It's been a year and a half now of the new name.
So how weird is it that you have now shed an identity for another identity, which kind of proves that you don't just have one identity,
right?
Yeah, and that it changes and all that.
Well, but isn't that just like the perceived identity?
Yeah,
I'm doing that as much for myself as I am for other people.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because it's a crafted identity,
right?
And like the me and me kind of goes, oh, danger. Like, because you can craft an identity that is incredibly biased and flawed.
Sure.
You know, people
Correct.
do it all the time.
Right.
You know, I like the Misfits. Bull.
Do you though? Yeah.
Shit.
Right.
Right. You like that people think you like the Misfits.
Right.
So like how much of a danger, like, because with isolation, there comes literally nothing more that you can do than craft in your brain who you are. So how much of that do you think is wrong? Like, I mean, that's crazy, because, you know, I'm sitting here saying that isolation and identity kind of have to go together. But could it be wrong, or are you just still receiving out? It's kind of like the Buddhist meditation thing. Like, can you truly separate yourself from just the fly buzzing near your ear? Yeah.
Well,
and I know there's not an answer to that.
no, there's definitely a place where you kind of go, I am because I am observed. You know, it's the tree falling in the wood. You know, like there isn't anything I mean, I guess that's what I'm pointing at, is that until it's observed, and I can observe myself do all kinds of crazy stuff that no one else sees. You know, like, so is that the real point of it? Does someone else, is the other need to observe?
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I don't know. I feel like I did all of this partially for myself and my mental health and my intentional claiming of my identity.
See, I would distill all that down to the word survival. Like, I mean, you know,
absolutely.
like why else do we make all these decisions about
Correct.
who we are other than just to survive the other?
Right.
I mean, I know in my case, that's the biggest reason, you know, because, you know, all these experiences we have when we're young, you know, there's traumas, there's, you know, whatever. Okay. So, that was a cool talk. I liked it. I want to tell a quick story. I had a guy I knew, and this guy could have been a neurosurgeon. He was one of the most obviously brilliant human beings I've ever met. If you sat down with him, you could talk politics, philosophy, nature, anatomy, you know, tech. He was a super genius. And like many people like that, and I'm bringing this up because I feel like he might have had the same INT thing as you. He was also one of the most sociopathic human beings I've ever met. Like, when you looked at him, you know he wasn't seeing you. You know? And he wound up becoming one of the biggest weed dealers in Indiana. He got pinched. He did 8 years. He came back out, big old motherfucker. And he tried to fly straight, but with the felony, he never could. So he got back into the bad, you know, all of this. And the end of the story of him is that he led police on a 3-state car chase, terminating in Florida, and he's now in the big hotel forever.
Right. Crazy.
Right. But to this day, that guy was profoundly and uniquely him. Like, there is not one part of that guy that was influenced by Beyonce or Michael Jackson or something. And it's so crazy that level of independence comes with so much danger.
Right.
Yeah. And so that leads me into the third one, which is imagination. I think we are nearing the death of imagination. I think there is so much out there already. I think there are so few avenues or, hey, why don't you go and just sit in a park and imagine something, that it's all just going to be rehashed stuff. Because what can somebody imagine now? I mean, like, every science fiction author's imagined space. Every fantasy person has imagined fantasy. Every musician has imagined what to do with that tricky diminished. Right? I mean, would you agree with me that imagination, first off, is based on a sense of identity?
Sure.
Okay. And secondly, is going out.
I don't know. I see exactly that trajectory.
I'm not talking creativity. I'm talking imagination.
Yeah.
Because anybody can craft something creative. Well,
Sure.
Oh, look at my fucking quilt.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Imagine. I mean, I have thought for many moons about, the fact that at one point I thought that MTV ruined music because as soon as you put a picture to the music, you have defined it.
Well,
And when you can
you
no longer
stole imagination,
right, you're stealing that imagination, And so I think that there is definitely a trajectory of that, but I also feel like that there's probably enough other where people can go. Like me, they'll say, I recognize that that's the problem. That's the issue. It's like we're not allowed to make up our mind. And sometimes that's the trigger that it needs to just push that back and backtrack that. It's not going to take a 51% of the people, because 51% of the people currently don't have any influence or way to change anything either.
One of the really bad trends I've noticed in America and around the world is most people's thoughts are problem solving. And, how do I get home from work today in Chicago traffic? How do I get the extra $2,000 to pay for the fucking flat tires and all of this stuff? And that drain, and that's why, again, this podcast is kind of focused mainly on like how human beings become human beings after AI and all of that. The decrease in that external pressure, I think, will lead to a resurgence of the identity, even if they're worthless identities.
Sure.
Right? I mean, I don't care if the person's identity is, I want to be Dandelion Girl. I mean, thank God you want to be. Right? But I hate that, because if there's a loss of imagination, that's almost kind of like a loss of gasoline in the truck. And I don't know if it's going to come back, or if we're all just going to be kind of steered once we lose that imagination and identity to whatever purposes. Do you think that the people steering our loss of imagination and identity are going to have us in a good place on the end flip-flop?
Well, I think anyone steering anything right now is, probably fighting a losing battle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're steering what? You think you're, I think anyone that believes that they are, controlling some form of social engineering on us, is going to come up against the rugged individuals. Despite the fact that those numbers seem to be dwindling.
Have you noticed the same trend I have, where the kind of rugged individual blowback is actually, for like one of the first times in the past 5 or 8 years, kind of trumping, no pun intended,
right.
but kind of like the dominant voice now on social media versus I'm so special and needy and I need my voice to be heard because like I've noticed just a complete return to our childhood, which is like, you're fucked. Like, you're a piece, like,
yeah.
And I can't even spend the time to convince you on how many fucking things is wrong with you. Right. So I'm just going to say, fuck yourself. Have you noticed that trend?
I have kind of noticed that. And I've said it about myself too. That's it's our Gen X uprising,
But I'm seeing it in like 18-year-olds.
Oh yeah. But once again, who was their dad? And that kind of does play into that a little bit.
Yeah, who was their dad? There's a lot of kids running around. We need to catch that guy.
Get that dude.
we need a sign in the post office.
Right.
Okay, so imagination. I mean, it wasn't really a big one for me, but like the loss of imagination to me is something, because I live in my imagination.
Sure. Same.
And that's part of being not able to ever prove something. Like I have to devote more brain power to keeping myself amused and stimulated, because I just don't get it from other people.
Sure.
I don't. I get a lot of like, oh, that's nice, or this makes me feel glad. Right. But I could just be waiting on the bus too.
Right.
So, that's such a weird place to be, which I know you can relate to, in a world where everybody is expecting me to tell them my tribe. And that's going to be the end of this segment, which is stop that shit. Like, because now there are entire demographics of people who have never had an original thought in their fucking head since they were watching goddamn cartoons on Saturday, and then public school education and fucking this, that, and the other indoctrination, or going to the church. I'm an anarchist. I'm not picking on the lefties. And there's so much indoctrination now that powerlessness that people feel to actually be able to poke their heads up and kind of go, I think you're all fucked. And you could make the link to Germans in Nazi Germany, or you could make the links to people in Mexican cities that just get along with the cartels. It's dangerous. Look what's going on. I don't know if there was a point to that, but imagination to me has always been my salvation.
Sure, and I tend to agree with that. I'm I've been often criticized for just being like, where did you go?
Yeah.
What do you mean? You didn't. How long did it take you to notice I was gone? It's usually the question that follows that. How long did it take before you figured out?
Yeah.
Because I've been gone for an hour. When did you figure that out? Did you just come looking for it when you saw it? Because that was an hour ago.
Yeah.
And
where in the world is Verne Fritz?
Right. Not here today. Irish goodbye, is my favorite thing.
I find it very sad. For a brief moment, I'm going to step outside of my philosophy, and I'm going to say, if people are real, I find it an incredibly sad way to live. I find 90% of all human actions and activities and comments and encounters to be incredibly sad, because it's either somebody bitching about something they're being forced to do, or it's somebody talking about why they deserve something more than what they have, or all of this. And all of that goes away with identity. With pride in your identity, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, here's the big one.
Yep.
Are you ready?
I am.
Good versus evil. This comes after our entire discussion on identity. Because you have to, I have to know where you are on that scale before we even talk. Do you believe in the classic, time-old concept of an absolute good and an absolute evil?
No.
Okay. Why?
Because all of that is a construct.
By other people?
By other people.
There's our division
right.
again. Okay.
There's a construct that says, and
country music, evil.
Or church, state, blah, 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 we've contrived everything. Every bit of identity, every bit of alone time, all of the things that we're talking about today is, it's like saying, is there time?
Yeah.
We kind of made it, we've put limits on it and said, here's some definitions, and it doesn't work.
I'm going to go
it works in the discussion.
This will be our first kind of hardcore disagreement. And I try to avoid those.
Sure.
Saying that time is a human construct is similar to the concept of good or evil to me is a non-starter.
Okay.
I see an absolute separation between the idea of time being nebulous and kind of confusing and interpretable to the concept of good or evil.
Okay.
One of the things I enjoy is that just in this brief conversation, I know what side of that dividing line you are, because a serial killer, sociopath would have said, absolutely, there's an absolute good, and it's what I fucking want.
Right.
Whereas the scientific overthinking Verne Fritz is the one going, it's all
a creation. Yeah.
So thank you. I'll put the gun off.
Right. Yep.
So the notion of good or evil to you is a construct. So in that world, philosophically, then me just going outside and killing the first puppy dog I see is fair. I chose to do it. Maybe it wasn't the best for the dog or the owner of the dog, but it's not an absolutely evil decision for me to have done.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, right.
I'm
not trying to convince
from
you.
A person, from a person, from that viewpoint. Yeah, absolutely. Now how that plays, it's like we always talk about. It's it's all about the consequences 99% of the time. It's not the act, right? It's not the act itself that has any. It's the consequences of the act. So
you and I could not be further apart. This is going to be a good ending to this podcast.
There's definitely a point where people kind of go, yep, hey, you shouldn't do that. But at the same time, I have direct stories of my grandfather. Cats had kittens in the barn. What did he do with them? He put them in a sack and threw it in the river.
Yeah.
Now, today, most people would tell you that's pretty evil.
As opposed to knowing what an average kitten's life was like in the country, and maybe saying it's more humane and good to do that because that's a quick moment of suffering and death. But I've seen rural cats. I'm sure you have too. There are some disease-suffering fucking animals out in those woods.
Right.
And maybe Grandpa or Dad said, hey, this is better. I mean, I wouldn't have even taken him to the river. I would just
it was probably
got a flat side of a shovel,
Well, it was just easier for him. I probably, soup, see ya.
Yeah.
Well, and my mom's telling me these stories, she's like, and we cried all, she's like, but if he didn't do that, we'd have had 150 cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I worked at the Humane Society. Trust me.
Right.
We had a bag of sacks thrown over the gate every week.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Okay, so go on a journey with me.
Okay.
You knew the World War II guys, and I did. Younger generations didn't really have that experience. It's an experience that means a lot to me. The individuality, the rugged stuff. I've always thought that there was kind of this dividing line between what human life was before World War II and what it was after, because it was almost like humanity had seen so much suffering and inhumanity. And I'm not talking just the Jewish situation. I mean, there were the gypsies, there were the murders in Africa, and all this stuff. That it's almost like we all made this like cultural decision that we can never lose our shit that bad again. And so there were all these protections put into place to protect human life. Whereas my grandfather in the 30s, if he was walking down the street and saw a dead dude in the gutter, he'd go, life.
Yeah.
He wouldn't call the family and go, oh, he was, he would just be like, life. Okay, there's a dead guy. Is that separate, and it goes to like the separation of us seeing death or seeing suffering. They come in and whisk the corpse away right away. They don't put it on the table so the Irish families can weep for 20 days.
Right.
Do you think that has caused kind of a detachment of what it means to be? My son, when he was really young, we were in Evansville, Indiana, and my grandmother was fortunate enough to be able to die at home. She kind of lasted until just the last minute, and she said, just put me on the sofa, and there we go. And my son was in the kitchen, and I said, come here. And he was probably 7. And he stood right there next to me as I leaned over and I said, whatever you're seeing, it's good to go. Like, go to it, grandma, sort of a thing. He never once has shown any type of like a trauma from that experience.
Sure.
Right? Mm-hmm. Whereas now, I don't know where I'm going. You take with that. Like the notion of hiding, humanity's.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I can see, I don't have a lot of vivid memories of, my grandparents were all very old.
Yeah.
Like they all got to be well into their old age, 90s. All of them were in their mid to late 90s, if not 100, Yeah. And then back through the family. So I didn't have a lot of like that familial death as a kid.
Like tragic death.
Never. Yeah. Like they're as a young man, sure, there were, stuff happened. And, I had a couple of cousins that died young and, but I wasn't a 7-year-old at that point. I was 27,
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a lot of experience with that. And I've said for many years that, like that in and of itself almost makes me kind of go, I don't know how to act in those particular situations a lot of times just because of that. It's like, I don't have any experience with that. So having no trauma from that, having no, or was it the reverse?
Yeah.
Or it's like, well, I didn't have any experience with that. I don't really know how that feel. I was not good at identifying what I was feeling in that moment or, any of the number of like kind of autistic traits that kind of go along with emotional responses and blah, blah, blah. And so I feel like I have whatever trauma I have from being a kid was probably mostly self-created and, or whatnot, it's like, put yourself in a situation.
All right, well, let's go back to good and evil. The reason I do believe in it, as opposed to it being, to use your term, a kind of human construct, is because I've seen it. And this is what I mean by that. Everybody's seen bad shit. That can still be a human construct, right? I have seen demons.
Okay.
I have seen demons, and by demons I ain't talking.
I get you.
Some classical cape wearing biblical fuck. Like, I've seen the evil fuckers that creep around the dark places of the galaxy. And they've come at me, and they still do. And they come at me in my sleep. They come at me in the waking day. I've woken up with scratches on my back. You know, I see all these fucking things. And I think it's because I am the way I am that my belief in good and evil isn't based on a human construct because, again, I don't know if y'all exist.
Right.
But I know they do. And I don't know if they're, like, personally sent after me and I'm, like, some weird person in the universal fucking diagram and, like, you know, they got to pervert me or they've got to make me choose between a side, good or evil. So all of the things that you're talking about with people, I have the same battle and the same relationship and the same whatever with those people. And I also know that there are entities that help me in that.
Sure.
Okay. Call them angels, call them spirits, call them ancestors, call them whatever you want. Okay. So I have to believe in good and evil because I'm good. I am 100% good. Okay. So, and they're 100% evil. So that's why I'm able to easily answer that question because I'm not talking that a starving kid in Mexico is good or bad. I'm saying there are forces that are directing things negatively towards me that are not good for me.
Okay.
Does that make any sense to you?
I mean, sure. I mean, not from my perspective, but I understand what you're saying.
So,
absolutely.
So to translate that more into your realm, and then I'm going to get your thoughts on it. Gravity is a good thing, right? Mm-hmm. It holds everything together.
Sure.
But it crushes you over time. Mm-hmm. Okay. So is gravity good or evil? Is that kind of like, well, it's conceptual. It's nebulous. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's the forces that I'm talking about because that universe was created by these forces in my worldview. And so the fact that there is this dichotomy where you're always second guessing and you're always kind of like, God, I love food, but I just shit my pants. Or, you know, oh, I'm so sad because somebody who I just loved died, but I had the chance to love them. Oh, the special dichotomy. Is it good they died even though I had a chance to meet them? And would I have been worse off if I hadn't had this experience? That's the shit that makes me go, wait, that's a big ass fucking con. And I never signed on for that shit. I don't want to have those little good and evil nuances and shit. I don't want to have to say, oh, yin yang, bingy bangy, fucking whatever. Like, fuck all that and fuck whoever created that shit. Did I make my point loudly enough? Because all of that is what leads to the continuation of human suffering.
Yeah.
And you said, I'm perfectly fine being by myself. That's the thing that I am also perfectly fine with being away from. I don't want to know the drama. I don't want to know the fucking story, the Shakespearean fucking human. Go for it.
Yeah, that's essentially it. You know, my take on that would be, you know, like if there is no other, then then where did the evil come from?
Right.
You know, like if you're 100% good, then there's no room for that. You know, like
I am talking specifically the creatures that are known as Homo sapien human beings.
Right.
I'm not alone in the universe.
Okay.
I said that very clearly. There's these motherfuckers
You're right.
here.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like there's a, you know, like part of me is like, oh, I get that. And I totally, you know, you're right. There are forces that we don't have any clue about, and you know, like,
oh, I do.
And in well, you have clues,
dude. I punch them,
but you never have quite the answer. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
I do. They're nefarious, evil fuckers.
I'm just gonna fucking lie.
But see, you're the one that has to classify on that
That's
side
true.
of the thing. To me,
That's true.
You know what they are? They ain't me, and I fucking hate them.
There you go.
That's good enough for me.
There you go. Yeah, and you're right. I do need a categorization. I do need a filing system. Yeah. I need
but
to
it's such
put
a
it in
distraction.
Sure.
I mean, how much of the human experience with other people is just trying to agree on a fucking name?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how many wars have started on a name? This is Bulgaria. No, it is not.
Yeah.
This is Bulshmeria.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So.
No, I think we agree to not even necessarily disagree to agree. That's what that all sounded like to me. I don't know if that made any sense.
My whole life, just to sum up my world, experience, I have always felt since I was a kid, and I have seen thousands of demons, shadow people, these things. They're almost like my reality to other people's realities. I feel my whole life has been preparing me to go into that world where I'm going to have to be a scrappy motherfucker for the forces of good and stuff like that. And the trivialities of this life for me, it's almost like a hardening. It's almost like a training course.
Okay.
And I don't understand why more people don't sort of understand that you really got to choose something in this world. And I'm not coming at it from like a religious, like, oh, you're going to burn in hell. I'm saying you're going to pick a side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my whole view on that shit. But why don't you go more on good and evil? As Nietzsche, wasn't that one of Nietzsche's books? Good and evil.
Good and evil. Yeah.
To walk amongst mountaintops, one must have long legs. That was a quote from that book.
Was it? Yeah, not a reader myself.
Do you feel more free, or do you feel more empty, not having a concrete view of good and evil? Do you feel less like virtuous?
I feel like that's a concept that I don't even put on myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I'm not gonna. It's like, in fact, the snap judgment is non-virtuous. Like not as virtuous as now. That also probably goes right with that thing of saying, well, I'm not a decent musician. There's so many people better than me.
Who am I to
I'm
say?
not a good artist. There's so many people better. Who am I to be
self-effacement?
Right.
But they used to call it humility. Oh, look how humble he is. He's such a great guy.
Right.
Fuck.
Well, at the end of the day, I always told my kids that I would always say things like, well, who gets to decide that? And I go, I do, because I am the arbiter. And you do too, because you're the arbiter. But you're not old enough to be the arbiter now.
There's already too many arbiters. You're killing me.
You're going to get your arbitership eventually.
That's a sword on the shoulder. Yeah.
Your 20th birthday or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, it's just always been such a tricky thing for me because people are just goddamn tricky, and it's like I don't understand why the majority of life is looking through the mist, like to find the real thing.
Yeah.
It's certainly not how I would have designed it.
Right.
All right. I had another I, and I forgot. We did imagination, we did identity, we did isolation. I might have written that down. So, what's on your mind today, bro? As I'm doing this.
Trouble? No.
Do you think that intelligence requires sociopathy? So that was my story of my friend. We kind of went through that. Names and baggage. We did that. Verne from Brent. Is imagination dead? We did that. Look at me looking at my notes on my podcast.
Hey.
I have one here that says, has the internet increased and normalized psychopathic behavior? We kind of touched it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we're about to see that pushback against. I feel like the Gen Alpha at this point is already kind of on a social media fuck you, pushback.
Do you know
to a certain extent
how many people were affected by the opioid epidemic, and now there's this huge anti-alcohol, anti-drug culture in the young kids?
Yeah.
It's almost the same with the keyboard warriors and the virtuous signalers. There's so many people that are kind of like, I am so overdosed from that shit.
Right.
Like, you need to shut. Like, I'm turning the channel.
Well, I've noticed that. I mean, my own children. Like I started late. Was an old dad. You're getting ready to go again.
Well, yeah, again.
But part of that is like I almost have a full generation. Step where my parents didn't. My mom's 20 years older than me. I was 36 when my oldest was born. So that's a whole other generation between us.
Yeah.
Ostensibly, if mom had been 18 when I was born and that kid had been, there could easily be 36 years between.
If only we could have scheduled more.
That could have easily been my grandchild,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
No, thank you. Although here I sit, my kids are in their early 20s and, but I feel like there is a pushback. My children, barely, and they're in their early 20s. They barely participate in any social media.
Yeah.
Like I see my oldest, he has an Instagram, but it's got like 8 things on it. And he just basically uses it to like go, hey, Dad, oh, I saw this cool post that you posted, and he sends stuff back to me. My youngest has nothing on his Instagram.
My son uses it almost like an instrument of chaos. Like I'll go to his Instagram and there'll just be the most obscure random image like half of a person's face next to like a Ricola advertisement, and I'm like, what? He's like, that's the point. Like, it's just.
There you go.
And that's his statement on this is just bullshittery.
Right. Here's the chaos. I'm going to throw my version in,
Yeah.
mix it up. No, I think there is a pushback, at least generationally.
I hope so.
And you're seeing it, like I said, the Gen Alpha now, like those kids aren't on Facebook. Those kids aren't on Instagram.
Well, going back to my
TikTok's getting ready to dump too. Like, what else is good?
Facebook is like, I'm convinced that Facebook's what's called the dead internet. Where like everything's bots and fucking shit.
Yeah.
But for somebody who, like has difficulty believing in other people, the internet to me was almost like a shotgun blast to the face. Because now I'm not just arguing with Brent or with Verne across from me. I'm arguing with people who I don't even know if it's code.
It's
right.
a human. Yeah.
I mean, are they trying to make us all schizophrenic?
Right. Oh no, there's definitely was, and I feel like it's the last, 15 years? Because it seems like there's been Facebook for at least that long.
I don't remember pre-internet life. There was a time. This will be a cool topic. Mm-hmm. There was a time where even as the internet was developing and evolving, I still felt that I lived more in the pre-time.
Yeah.
And now I've crossed this line where I almost can't think of how I used to be before the internet. And that's a scary place to be.
And maybe that's just that slight difference in our ages, where it's like, I had an entire adult life before the internet. Yeah. Sure, was I in my mid-20s or what? But I had I was on Prodigy in 1995.
Well, how old were you in 95?
29.
Oh, so there's about a decade between us.
Yeah, I was born in 66.
I had no idea.
I'll
there
be
was
60
that much.
this year. Yeah.
Bravo.
Yep.
Way to kick it. And according to your family, you got 40 more plus years, man.
Yep.
Knock on.
And maybe more because modern medicine.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Do you think that we're ever going to have the Immortality Project successful? And let's let this be our last. We've been going what?
I don't know.
What time is it?
About 1.
About 1. You got here about an hour?
Yeah, about an hour. A little more.
Okay, so let's try this. Because I'm tired of AI.
Yeah.
One, do you think that because they're already what do they call it? Retroactively stopping aging.
Oh yeah, there's
mice. And
sure. Yeah.
Do you think that immortality, because human beings, we're going to be able to do whatever the fuck we want? Like
eventually, yeah.
I'm so tired of is it ever going to happen? It's like anything that the universe allows us to do, we're going to make at some point. Do you think immortality is the classic? Is it a good idea for people?
Yeah, I mean,
or do you think that there comes a time where an artist needs to stop making a painting and a life needs to stop living?
Oh, but isn't that all based on can you still do it the way you did it when you did it the first time?
Let's not even talk about what they're producing. Do you think it is good for a human being to never die?
Probably not. I guess it kind of. That's a hard question because, as much as I'm a vampire movie fan and whatnot, where it's just and I've totally been that guy that's like, dude, if that was real, what would that actually, and we've all watched all of the, the movies about vampires over the years. And every once in a while you kind of go, that's a pretty good argument, that dude, or, actually the one that hits probably closer to home is Highlander.
Yeah. There can be only one though.
But there can be only one.
Because life feeds on life.
Well, what's funny is but there wasn't only one. Those dudes, they were looking to fight each other, but at the end of the day, that dude could have just built his castle and said, yeah, come on.
I forget the lore behind it. Wasn't there a moment where they had to fight so they could there was a pressure point?
Yeah, I'm sure it's something like that. But I don't remember I remember the original movie.
Sean Connery.
But then it was there was so much other, became a TV show and a bunch of other
I think the second one is generally regarded as one of the biggest pieces of trash.
Right.
Yeah.
After the first one being super good.
Super good.
Right. No, I'm not necessarily a fan of there being immortals, just because of the nature of how that plays out. Yeah. If you could be 20 forever or 25 or whatever whatever your brain tells you,
or whatever
like
you
to be,
select.
Yeah. What would you like to be? Would you like to be 25 forever? It's I was kind of a pudgy weird kid at 25.
I'd like to speed it up and rewind it. I'd like to, because I think if you can live forever, you can probably set a
Right.
like a timer.
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh, wait, I'm 50. I want to go back to 20. Wait, let's try 90.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's true. No, I just don't think it would be, it's just that it almost like it affords you too much power in a certain way, or it's like, I enjoy the process of getting older. Yeah. I've enjoyed getting older. Yeah. I've enjoyed coming into the point of being the old guy.
Well,
in the
even
group.
Stars burn out and die, right?
Right.
And
so being the old guy's kind of like always been my goal. Like there was a point where I started a book, I started a novel, like that was basically a guide to being old from a perspective of a young man, like saying, here's the things that I think are cool about old dudes, or whatever. And so I've always kind of wanted to be older, I've always wanted to be the old man. I've always been told, oh, the old soul, you got along with the old people. And it's like, that's an autism trait, but let's go back and so of course I've always wanted to be the old guy.
Is it because that you feel you can be a fountain for younger people, or is it because you feel you can be untouchable because of who you've become over time and like nobody can tell you what to do? Because one's selfish, one's kind of aggrandizing, like I'm Socrates preaching to the youth sort of a thing. Or is there just like a natural benefit to getting to a place where you're like, I've been there, done it. An egg is never going to taste any different than a fucking egg. I've had it with salt. I've had it with fucking olives. I've had it with fucking. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think very much that I have both of those qualities in that point of view where it's like, oh, I want to be the old guy. Why? I do have a teacher nature about me. I do have an that's what I started out in life to do, was be a teacher. I never quite got around the full malarkey to get there. I spent my time teaching lessons and doing, I've been a teacher, and I've always considered myself a teaching person.
I can see that.
But at the same time,
I've learned from you.
But at the same time, in the, let's just go from the tattoo world. It's like, there is a certain perspective of saying, I've been tattooing for 35 years.
It's a lot of ink, man.
There's stuff that, it's the old adage of like, I've forgotten more stuff than right now. Yeah. And there is
youngin'.
And so I like that point of view as well. It's like, well, let me show you, let me help you. It's always been kind of the way that I spent that extra money that I had. It's like, oh, I've 35 years of experience. That's the money in my pocket.
I can tell you've been paid a lot in cash because your thumb was up when you were doing it. Like, you've actually counted fucking watts.
Yeah.
Well, let me end it on this, because like I think this is a good one to end it on, because we went from identity to death is the end of identity,
sure.
Right? So it's kind of a cool arc we did. Yep. I know I'm eternal, and I say eternal, not immortal, because I know that I am a focused bit of energy, and that I'm going to retain my experiences in that energy, so like think like a hard drive processing all of these things. Some people used to call it a soul, some people call it whatever, but I don't believe you need to harness that, and I don't believe you need to create a super suit to download your fucking mind into it. I think it's just the natural thing, and I think we're all eternal, not immortal, but eternal. And the people who want to be immortal in their flesh bags are the fucked up ones.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are doing it just for power, and they want to put on that big galactic crown, and they say, oh, look, we got Jupiter, and all we got left is fucking, Uranus, and or Uranus, and then I can scratch those off my list. They're the ultimate, the other side of your spectrum.
Right.
That's incorrect. They're both sides. They're absolutely sociopathic, and they're absolutely detail-oriented, because they're so scared of the universe. And so when somebody says, hey, are human beings ever going to be immortal? I'm like, the ones that want to be are. And, blissfully, I won't be around them anymore, because I'm going to be off soaring the rings of Saturn.
Sure.
And things.
Yep.
So, hey.
Always a good seat.
Yeah,
always a good chat.
You're going to have to come back on. I think that... as we project ourselves into other people's identities, I think we did it with less harm than most people would do.
That's all we can ask.
All right, man.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. We'll do one
Give
more.
me the fist bump. Pow.
Poink.
Ring to ring.